What's up everybody, Mike here, and today we're going to be recording some massive drums to get some equally massive drum tones. And be sure to stick around to the end of the video so you can learn how to get the drum samples I made from this kit, so you can use these crazy drums in your own mixes and productions. I love collecting weird drums. They might not get used on every session, but when they do, they add a totally unique character that can pull a song in a whole new direction. So to start off the crazy kit we're using today, we've got the biggest, fattest snare drum. This was a 16 by 16 inch floor tom from a Japanese stencil kit that I fixed up and converted into a snare. It's just the dumbest drum and I love it. I've got a Remo Ambassador on top, tuned to 210 Hz, and an Ambassador snare side on the bottom, tuned somewhere around 350. And for dampening, this drum kind of needs a lot to get it under control, so I'm using an Evans E-ring as well as a moon gel. Then I've got it mic'd up with a pair of Shure SM57s on top and bottom. I'm adding a bunch of top end to these, carving out a little bit of mid-range, and compressing with the Kive Audioscape V-Comp. Then to go with that snare, we need an equally massive kick drum. So I pulled out my 26 by 10 1970s stainless steel Ludwig kick. Big kicks like this have such a cool character to them that you just can't get with standard sized drums. For heads, I'm using a Power Stroke 3 on the batter side, tuned to 40 Hz, and an Ambassador on the Reso, tuned to 52 Hz. And I've got a bed sheet inside for dampening. Then I'm using a 10-pound dumbbell inside to hold the sheet up against the batter head and off of the Reso head. This helps to keep the inside mic nice and tight while still letting the Reso head ring out. For mics, I've got an Audio-Technica ATM25 just inside the porthole and the Lauten Clarion outside the kick, maybe 5 or 6 inches from the Reso head. And usually I find myself using the kick in mic for maybe 65 to 95% of the sound, and then I'm just supplementing that a little bit with the kick out. But with this drum, I ended up doing the exact opposite. I added a ton of top end and a bit of extra lows to the kick out, compressed it pretty heavily with a purified LED comp, and added some saturation via PSP saturator on the warm tape setting. And that ended up being probably like 95% of the kick sound. From the kick in mic, I cut out a ton of low end, gated it super short, and then just mixed in a tiny little bit of it to add a touch more attack. For toms, I found that a 12 or 13 inch rack tom just couldn't get low enough to match the snare, so I ended up using a 14 inch 1981 Gretsch floor tom in place of a rack tom, as well as a 16 inch 1960s Slingerland floor tom, both with Remo Emperors on top and Ambassadors on the bottom. The floor tom is tuned to an F sharp on top and an A on the bottom, and the rack is a B on top and a D on the bottom. So a minor third higher on the Resos, and the rack tom is a fourth above the floor. I found that the Gretsch needed a little bit more dampening to match the more deep thuddy tone of the Slingerland, so I threw a moon gel on the top head and a drum tack on the bottom. If you don't know about drum tacks, they're really cool. Hang on one second. So yeah, they like actually stick on, like here's just the packaging. Is that in focus? No, not really, that's okay. But yeah, they like actually stick on there. Like you can still get them off, they're not permanent, but they're really on there. So you can use them on Reso heads or cymbals or whatever, and they won't fall off like a normal moon gel would. But then I mic'd the toms up with my absolute favorite tom mic, the Lauten LS308, which then got some top and bottom boosts as well as a mid-range cut before being compressed by the purified micro limiter and getting a little bit added saturation from FabFilter Saturn. And of course, to go with extra large drums, you need extra large cymbals. So I'm using a 20 inch Zildjian A crash and a pair of 18 inch Zildjian crashes as hi-hats. To capture these, as well as the drums themselves, I set up a pair of Vanguard V13s as my main overhead pair. I then wanted a little bit more attack from the shells, so I added a Lauten LA320 as a center overhead. These just got a little bit of EQ and a touch of saturation. And finally, I set up my trusty pair of SE4400As in Omni as room mics, which got a touch of EQ and a healthy dose of compression, courtesy of the Kive ADC1 compressor. Now let's throw it all together and hear the final sound. And if you want to get these exact sounds for yourself, I made a sample pack called the Mega Kit, which is available at bettermixes.com as part of the Complete Collection, along with tons of other awesome samples. They're available as both TCI files for trigger and wave files, and there are separate samples for the close mics, overheads, and room mics, as well as a blend of all three to give you both ease of use and flexibility. And of course, they're multi-sampled at multiple velocities and all that good stuff. Again, I'll link to them in the description. But anyway, if you like this video, you'll probably enjoy this one where I recreate Travis Barker's drum tone, or maybe this one where I recreate the drum sound from Paramore's Riot album. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.